Welcome to Smeagol's house. New video, new subject. Hadhafang. A beautiful sword. A really beautiful sword. Actually, this sword does not exist in Tolkien's lore.
Actually, Hadhafang does not appear on the lore. Yep.
He did not mention about a sword called Hadhafang.
Tolkien did not mention any sword called Hadhafang.
This was made up by the Peter Jackson and his filmmakers crew.
This is made up by Peter Jackson and his filmmaking crew.
They decided to create a sword that makes Arwen more important than she is in the storyline. And so today's topic, Hadhafang, a made-up sword by Peter Jackson and his crew. Let's begin the video and the review. As I said before, Hadhafang does not appear in Tolkien's books. There is no sword called Hadhafang in Tolkien's Middle-earth or in his storyline or lore. Hadhafang made up by the Peter Jackson, and it was a good addition in my humble opinion, because the sword looks cool, you know, that curvy sword with inscriptions on the elven lines, and maybe it's a good way. It was a good way to make Arwen a little bit more important than she is in the lore of the Lord of the Rings.
They created this sword and they created some scenes about Arwen, so they made Arwen more important than she is in the lore.
And as we all know, that Peter Jackson became a good adder to the Tolkien lore in time, and of course Hobbit, it's a different story.
And now we have a very beautiful collection item, so thank you, Peter Jackson. This was a good invention.
Yep. Oops. Actually, there's an inscription on the sword.
Let's take a look at the Elvish script at
Idril Ihel and Aran Gondolin.
It goes something like that: Idril Ihel and Aran Gondolin,
which you can translate as Idril, daughter of the king of the Hidden Rock. Hidden Rock, as we all know, that it's a reference to Gondolin. You can use Gondolin as a name instead of Hidden Rock also.
Which means Idril, daughter of the king of the Hidden Rock. Hidden Rock, in here we can translate it Gondolin.
And why there is an inscription like on the sword? Because Peter Jackson wanted to connect the sword with Arwen and Elrond in some ways, and by doing a relationship between sword and the family, you need some family bonds, let's say. And Idril, as we all know, that was grandmother of Elrond. So Hadhafang became a heirloom kind of object in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Let me rephrase the story of Hadhafang, or the making process of Hadhafang. The crew made of a story. That sword belongs to Idril, and Idril, who is the grandmother of Elrond.
And they said that this was her sword.
So we have a family bond or a family heirloom, and in that case, Hadhafang became a local item, not a made-up sword. And so that they created a storyline that for that invention, let's say. Why? Because Hadhafang, no one knows anything about Hadhafang at that time, and so that there's a surprise element. Actually, yeah, you can see a sword in Elrond's hand in the beginning of the trilogy, movie trilogy.
You can see it in the hands of Elrond, and also after him, Arwen used this sword in the trilogy of Lord of the Rings.
You can see that Elrond fights with Sauron, Hadhafang in his hand, and then after a couple hours or couple of minutes, we can see that Arwen challenges that ring raid group with Hadhafang in her hand.
Yeah, yet it's still a good storyline, you know, that Peter Jackson added a lot of details on Hobbit storyline and also the Lord of the Rings storyline. So I'm not so confused about the situation, because he did this in a way that the movies looking more better than maybe they can be.
So yeah, Hadhafang became a part of the storyline. As I said before, it was a good addition. Perfectly fits the story.
So yeah, we have our Hadhafang now, because Peter Jackson decided that way.
Let's take a look at the historical references of the Hadhafang.
Also, there are some references about this sword, as we already can see.
It's a European, early modern European kind of sword we call şimşir. It's the signature weapon of the Cossacks. And sorry, şimşir, not şimşir, shashka. My mistake, so sorry.
Shashka, a Cossack sword.
Let me give you a brief info about the Cossacks, by the way. The Cossacks are a group of East Slavic speaking people who lives in the steppes of Eastern Europe. They played an important role in the historical and cultural development of both Ukraine and Russia. If we trace the etymology root of the word Cossack, it is an Old East Slavic word, Kozak. And a Kozak is a loan word from Cuman, in which meant free man, but also it has another meaning which we can translate as adventurer. First written example of Kozak appeared in the Codex Cumanicus from the 13th century, and also a brief info about the shashka. Shashka means long knife. It's a kind of saber, single-edged, single-handed and guardless backsword. It has a slightly curved blade and can be effective for both cutting and thrusting. And the earliest depictions of the sword date to the late 17th century. Two styles of shashka exist. One is the Caucasian shashka and the Cossack shashka. Our sword is reference to Cossack shashka, of course. Shashka is the signature sword of the Cossacks once upon a time, and its shape is a clear reference to the Hadhafang, for sure. And then another example, sickle sword of the Assyrians. from the Bronze Age.
They call it sickle sword. It's an Assyrian sword from the Bronze Age.
So there are a lot of course, references, because that sword meant to be used on horseback.
It's a curvy sword which cavalry can use, just because you need to swing that sword.
It's a cavalry sword. All can see this. It's elegant and thin, maybe we can say that. Structure is very useful for horseback fights. It's a cavalry sword, actually. Let's change the angle, shall we?
This is Hadhafang. This is some historical references, and let's talk other stuff in another angle. Shall we? Let's go.
Actually, there are a lot of, this is not in the book, there are a lot of, this is not in the book scenes in the movie. Hadhafang, by the way. The Peter Jackson and his crew designed this sword for the main horseback scenes. So, yeah, we can say it fits the purpose well, and you can see it's very elegant, and craftsmanship is way beyond perfect. However, at the first place, they used this sword for only the Arwen and the ring raids scenes. But actually, as we all know, that confrontation does not appear in the book. There's no battle between Arwen and the ring raids. It's Glorfindel who rescues Frodo from the trouble.
They created this sword, and they created some scenes about Arwen.
And actually, after that scene, they decided that we need to use the sword in another scene, and actually opening battle of the Fellowship of the Ring, you can see that Elrond wields that sword we called Hadhafang. And then after all, actually when they shot the Hobbit trilogy, after some discussions, they used it in the trilogy Hobbit this time. And Elrond wields the sword all the time. When he fought against the, or when he fights against anything, you can see Hadhafang in his hands. So, as I said before, this one became local at that point. For the movies, of course, not for the books, but Hadhafang, yeah, a beautiful product, a beautiful addition.
And now we have a very beautiful collection item. So thank you, Peter Jackson. This was a good invention.
Now time to go the United Cutlery ID of the product. Actually, this is an old item from United Cutlery. It's United Cutlery ID is 1298.
Hadhafang has its ID, of course, in United Cutlery, and it's 1298.
If you want to search the sword on the United Cutlery website, you can write 1298 and you will see Hadhafang.
If you want to search Hadhafang on United Cutlery's website, you can use this number 1298.
It is 420 stainless steel material and sharp edged, actually. 420
stainless steel blade. And Also, this one is one of the sharpened blades.
That sharp-edged option is a little bit radical for these kind of replicas because most of them are blunt, and then this one is sharpened. Nice detail. There's also a wooden display stand for the sword, and you can use it anywhere you want to because it's a vertical display stand, and yeah, you cannot hang it on the wall. Yeah, you can make it, but no need to. And it's like a furniture, you know, a good addition to your furniture group, and also your Lord of the Rings collection. Yep. The blade part, 30 inches, and if overall length of the sword is 38 inches. Actually, other than this, 2002 release date.
They created an idea, they wrote some Elvish scripts on it, they put some elf wines on it, so it looks way cooler than most of the swords in the lore. And Middle Earth, maybe we can say that they had a good replica about their universe, and it makes me feel good to have this sword. It's a cool looking sword, as you can see.
Anything other than these? Yeah, actually it's United Cutlery 2002. If I'm not mistaken, I bought this sword on Gitti Gidiyor Turkish site for 200 Turkish liras in 2003. Yes. I bought it from Ankara, and it's 200 Turkish liras. It was a long time ago, 18 years ago. I bought this sword for 200 Turkish liras. Actually, I'm still proud of this action. So, long live Hadhafang!
And also, I guess 30 inches blade length, and the overall length is 38 inches, and now you can hear the thunderstruck, I guess. So maybe this is a good time to cut the scene, and I don't want to get wet and cold, really. Actually, I guess this is the summertime, but yeah, it keeps on raining. I don't know why.
Actually, this is the end of another video from Smeagol's house. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves. I hope to see you again in another video about a replica and on any subject. I don't know which one I will shoot. Till then, see you later. Bye bye to you all from Smeagol's house. Take good care of yourselves. Hugs and kisses. Bye bye.